You're too slow for the IoT age, Carl. A cog that can't spin fast enough for our smart factory, he said, his voice cold as the steel walls of the plant I'd called home for 32 years. My name is Carl Thompson, 63 years old, and for over 3 decades, I was the lead plant engineer at Ironclad Industries, a steel fabrication facility in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, supplying chassis components to clients like AutoForge. I'd kept machines humming through recessions, trained mechanics to outsmart breakdowns, and ensured every part met tolerances that kept cars on the road. But our new operations manager, Dylan Reese, 36, with a Carnegie Mellon degree and a zeal for the Internet of Things, decided my scars and know-how were relics in his connected world. It was a gray November morning, the air thick with the scent of oil and metal. Dylan's office was a stark contrast to the gritty shop floor. Screens glowed with IoT dashboards, tracking every bolt in real time. He slid a termination letter across the desk. "We're fully integrating IoT with SmartForge," he said, adjusting his smart glasses. "It's automated, predictive, and doesn't need your manual fixes. We can hire 3 IoT techs for your salary." I held the letter, my calloused fingers tracing its edges. 32 years, countless nights welding broken presses, teaching kids to read gauges, earning AutoForge's trust, dissolved in ink. "What about the production audits?" I asked, my voice low, weathered by years of shouting over machinery. Dylan smirked. "SmartForge's sensors handle that. We'll audit for AutoForge in 8 days, 2-month severance." "That's fair, isn't it?" "Fair." The word landed like a misfired rivet. I thought of my team, people like Rosa, who could diagnose a pump failure by sound, or Jamal, who'd kept a line running during a blackout. I thought of my late wife, Ellen, whose laughter once echoed in our kitchen, and my son Nate, saving for a house. But I didn't argue. I nodded, signed the forms, and walked out, the factory's pulse fading as I left my badge on the desk. In the break room, I packed my things. A photo of Nate, a worn torque wrench, a faded AutoForge safety award. My team gathered, their faces etched with disbelief. "Sensors are replacing us?" Rosa whispered. I nodded. "Check your emails." HR's termination notices hit like a cold snap, cutting 7 senior staff. Silence settled heavy. I walked to my truck, the Pittsburgh skyline blurred by drizzle. My phone buzzed in the lot. A text from Jamal. "IoT's glitching. Lines are stalling. Dylan's hiding it." At home, I sat at the kitchen table, Ellen's old recipe book open to her meatloaf page, a ritual to feel her near. Nate's blueprints for his dream house lay nearby, a promise I'd vowed to keep. "What now, Ellen?" I murmured, staring at her photo, her smile, frozen in 2015. I had no answer, but I couldn't shake the dread. I'd seen SmartForge's beta tests, sensors misreading temperatures, actuators freezing, lines halting for no reason. I suspected the IoT system, built by Tech Trend Solutions, was rushed, its firmware flawed to prioritize data over stability. If I was right, the AutoForge audit would expose a catastrophe. I needed evidence. Ironclad Industries was a smoky forge when I started in 1993, with manual presses and logbooks. I modernized it, PLC controllers, predictive maintenance, a system that cut downtime by 40%. We grew to supply 25% of AutoForge's chassis, with 0 recalls in a decade. When a private equity firm bought Ironclad 3 years ago, they demanded leaner operations. They hired Dylan 6 months ago to digitize, and he was captivated by SmartForge's IoT, claiming it would save 30% on labor. A week before my firing, Dylan stopped by the shop floor. "AutoForge's audit is our proving ground. he said. SmartForge will lock in a $40 million contract. I should have seen the layoffs, but I was too busy restarting a press the IoT had frozen. The first call came 3 days after I was fired. I was sorting old maintenance logs when my phone rang. Dylan's name flashed. I let it go to voicemail. "Carl, it's Dylan. We're having issues with SmartForge. Sensors are off. Could you consult? $250 an hour." I deleted it. Hours later, Rosa texted, "IoT's crashing lines. Dylan's freaking out. Audits in 5 days." That night, I fired up my old work laptop where I'd saved maintenance logs and beta reports. I wasn't supposed to keep them, but 32 years of instinct don't fade. The reports showed SmartForge's sensors failed 10% of cycles, misreporting data that stopped production. I found an email I'd sent Dylan warning about Tech Trend's history of shipping buggy IoT systems to cut costs. He'd replied, "Appreciated, but we're committed." Nate stopped by, noticing the laptop's glow. "Still fighting the factory, Dad?" he asked. I sighed. "Someone's gotta fix it, son." But I needed more than logs. I called Jamal, still at Ironclad, too loyal to quit. "Can you get me SmartForge's sensor logs?" I asked. He hesitated. "That's risky, Carl, but I'll try." He also said Dylan was rushing the audit to secure funding. The next morning, I got an email from Apex Fabrications, a smaller competitor. Their plant manager, Vince Russo, wrote, "Carl, heard about Ironclad. Your uptime record is legendary. Interested in a lead role?" I set a meeting for the next day. That afternoon, Jamal sent a flash drive with sensor logs, left in my mailbox. The logs were a revelation. Firmware errors caused sensors to misread, freezing actuators in critical lines. 2 days later, Dylan showed up at my house, his SUV dusted with snow. "Carl, we're screwed," he said, his breath visible in the cold. "SmartForge's locking up the plant. The audit's in 3 days. $600 an hour, 1 day. Please." I thought of my team, tossed aside for a faulty system. "I'm booked," I said. "Interview tomorrow." His eyes narrowed. "You'll regret this. We'll blacklist you in manufacturing." I shut the door, my resolve like iron. The Apex meeting was a lifeline. Vince, a former welder in his 60s, knew my work from AutoForge audits. "Your plant's a machine," he said over diner eggs. "We're expanding, but we need someone who knows steel, not just sensors. Run our operations?" He offered a 20% raise and profit sharing. "Why me?" I asked. Vince grunted. "We tried IoT, froze our lines in a week. Humans fix what tech breaks." I accepted, but my mind was on Ironclad. Rosa called that night. "Carl, it's chaos. SmartForge is down 30% of lines. Dylan's lying to AutoForge." She'd kept a log of failures, which she sent me. I cross-referenced it with Jamal's logs, confirming Tech Trend's firmware skipped error checks, causing cascading failures. I needed to act before the audit. Rosa said the plant was on the brink, with lines frozen since yesterday. Against my better judgment, I drove to Ironclad at midnight, using an old maintenance key to slip in. The shop floor was eerie. Half the lines silent, sensors blinking red. I found a control panel, still accessible with my old credentials. The firmware was a mess, hundreds of misreads piling up. Working fast, I traced the issue to a faulty update that ignored signal drops. By 3 a.m., I'd written a patch using old PLC code, restarting one line as a test. It hummed to life. I left a USB with the patch and a note. "Fix your IoT. Check the firmware." I was gone before dawn. The next day, Rosa texted, "Lines are back, but not enough. Dylan's begging for you." I didn't respond. At the audit, AutoForge's VP, Maria Lopez, grilled Dylan. Your IoT's failing, she said, citing 20% downtime. Dylan admitted they'd used my patch but needed more. Maria called me, having heard from Rosa. Carl, can you stabilize the plant? Name your price. I agreed, not for Dylan, but for my team and AutoForge's trust. Over 48 hours, I worked with Jamal and Rosa, patching firmware, recalibrating sensors, and restoring 90% of lines. I documented tech trends flaws, rushed code, no redundancy, handing it to Maria. She paused the contract, demanding Ironclad revert to hybrid systems. Dylan was sidelined, his IoT dream in tatters. That night, Vince called from Apex. AutoForge wants us, he said. Your fix impressed them. Start Monday? I agreed, the weight easing. Ironclad's board fired Dylan a week later, after AutoForge slashed their deal. Rosa texted. They're hiring consultants. Jamal's joining Apex. I didn't reply, focused on sketching Apex's plant. IoT for data, humans for control. A year later, I stood in Apex's new facility, managing a 25-person team. AutoForge signed a 6-year contract, praising our stability. I trained every mechanic, documenting every fix, ensuring no IoT could freeze us. Vince promoted me to VP of Operations with a view of Pittsburgh's rivers. One day, I got an email from Dylan, now at a failing startup. Carl, any roles at Apex? I misjudged things. I didn't respond. Some lessons are forged in failure. Driving home, Nate's house plans on the dash. I thought of Ellen, of value, of experience, of machines that endure. I hadn't sought revenge. I built better and let the steel speak. That was enough.